Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi Yasir wa la tu'assir Rabbi Tamim bil khair. Welcome to the SBP-SGE webinar organized by Sekolah Tun Fatimah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining our webinar today. How are you today? Allow me to briefly introduce myself first. I'm Rosiana binti Zakaria, an English teacher in Sekolah Tun Fatimah since 2009 until now. Prior to that, I rendered my service in Sekolah Menengah Sains Muar for 3 years. Perhaps you can also participate in the chat box and introduce yourself. We would like to know where you're from and the subject you teach. Okay, welcome to the webinar, Miss Anis Sarina Baskaran Palina Sami. Okay, good afternoon. They are from Fakulti Sains Kesihatan. Okay, good afternoon, Kalavati Krishnan. Okay, Miss Karida binti Mat Syed. Thank you very much. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Right. We hope you are ready to listen and pay attention to our topic today. Okay, our topic today is how to become a creative lesson designer. Best practices from Teacher Fiqa. Ladies and gentlemen, is it important for us as the educators to be creative? As quoted by the British Council Teaching English website, creativity makes the students or learners more motivated, inspired, and challenged. For example, through creative activities, the introvert students feel confident to participate in the class. We may simply use the Siri application in the iPad to as the baby step for speaking activity before we move to the next phase, where we pair them up with their friends. In doing this, the introvert students will gain more confidence. Let me introduce our presenter today. She is a SBP alumni from Khas and a graduate from Canterbury Christ Church University in United Kingdom. Prior to that, she is a student at Institut Pendidikan Guru, Campus Bahasa Antarabangsa. She started her teaching career in Sekolah Tun Fatimah in 2015. She is our little sister in the English panel. Despite being the little sister, she's the most creative among us. We are driven to be as creative as her in educating our students. She is also a founder of Fiqa Teach English Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel. Feel free to like and follow for more ideas on creative teaching methods from her. She also has supervised students in many co-curricular activities. Among others, she was a teacher advisor for international programs with Yonizawa Kojokan Senior High School, Japan, and Nanyang Girls High School, Singapore. She is also an active teacher advisor for international and national debate competitions since 2015. Through her guidance, her student, Mai Alisha, has emerged as a champion in national level for animated digital storytelling competition. She is also a silver award recipient for an innovation competition organized by PPD Johor Bahru in 2020. An Apple Teacher webinar presenter, as well as iPad coordinator in Sekolah Tun Fatimah. Without further ado, let's welcome my sister, Nur Safiqa binti Sapar, or warmly known as Teacher Fiqa among Desa Tun students. Hi Fiqa.
Hi Kak Rosie, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay, we have a great topic today, and I'm sure that everyone that is watching us today are eager to know how and why should we become a creative lesson designer, Fika. So,
Yeah,
could you
that's true.
enlighten us on this question?
Okay, all right. Can we start? Okay, thank you, Kak Rosie. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon, IB, to all our viewers for our webinar today. Thank you to Kak Rosie for the question posted. So, are we ready? So, let's start the ball rolling. So, as our webinar today, the title is How to Become a Creative Lesson Designer. So are we creative teachers? Do we have to be creative in our lesson, and why creativity is needed in today's world? So I think these are some burning questions that you may have right now, and I hope we can answer together as we go along. So straight to the point, I'm going to share 42 ideas on how you can design creative lessons. So if you want to know more, please stay tuned until the end of our webinar today. So I hope this session will be beneficial and helpful to all dedicated teachers out there. And maybe if you have trainee teachers, especially in carrying out our PDPR right now during this pandemic. So I may not be the best person to share about this, but I hope I can spark some lights in you to be one of those creative teachers. So straight to the point, these are the flow of today's presentation. So I'm going to share 6 things in this 1 hour webinar. So the first one would be I'm going to share some of my PDPR project that I did with my students. How do I create creative based lesson based on the chapters in the textbook, and how to incorporate current issues or current news in our lesson, and how to use Padlet to teach the 4 skills in English. I also would like to share how do I use a newspaper creatively to enhance students' language acquisition. And last but not least, I'm going to share how can we teach literature in a creative way. So as for my school background, since we are one of SGE schools, School of Global Excellence, so each student, for information, in my class owns an iPad. So I think is very crucial for teachers to combine these 3 knowledge, which are technology, pedagogy, and also content, in order to deliver effective and engaging English lessons, since we are dealing with the Z generation, right? So I think it's very vital for teachers to master these 3 knowledge. Okay, I know some of you may wonder, do we really need to design a creative lesson? Why don't we just prepare them for exam, right? Because SPM is everything and we need to juggle with the non-teaching work as well. So, but as stated in British Council Teaching English website, it is believed that when we create creative lesson, it can lead to various benefits. Okay, I have 3 examples here. Number 1, it can promote genuine communication and cooperation among our learners. It can also enrich classroom work, especially when we have talented students in our class. We are just amazed with the outcome of the task that we assign them to do, especially when they use apps that they have in their iPad. And then I really like the last point, which is creativity is an important skill in real life, because I think especially when the students step into the working world, I think creativity is one of those added value other than our degree certificate. Okay, before we design a creative lesson, some of you may wonder, right, what are the challenges and what are the opportunity that we have in trying to become creative lesson designers? So these are some of them. So some of the challenge that we may face perhaps, okay, number 1, we are stuck in between preparing the students for exam, which mean we have to conduct exam drill based lesson, and at the same time we also have to be creative. And number 2, designing creative lesson for some people, definitely it really time consuming, which made some teachers do prefer traditional methods over 21st century approach. And some teachers also perhaps have limited preparation time, ideas, and also technological skills. So I think despite the challenges that we have to face, we have endless opportunity in designing lesson. For example, students have, okay, for example, for SGE schools, the students have gadgets like iPads in their hands. Okay, number 2, creative lesson can also promote collaboration among teachers. Okay, I'm going to share with you how do I do that. And then number 3, creative lesson does ease teachers' work actually, because you only need to facilitate students' work and activities during the lesson. And I think in SBP and most high-performing schools, we do have potential students, right? And I think if we don't maximize their capability, we are afraid that our students are left behind and we don't prepare them enough for the digital future. So, okay, next. All right, I think all teachers, especially English teachers, are aware of the new grading system, which is CEFR. And I personally like this assessment as we put the equal emphasis to all the 4 skills, which are reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So I think this is the right time, teachers, for us to shift our lesson to a more central approach. It means that when we design our lesson, we have to put the same attention to all the 4 skills, as the students' language proficiency are to be assessed based on these 4 skills, especially for their SQM. All right, so next one, as we design creative lessons, so the main reference is our textbooks and also the SKP, right? Okay, since I teach lower form classes, I teach Form 1 and Form 3 classes, so I do refer closely to pass-through textbook and closed-up textbook. So in the DSKP, the non-textbook lesson especially do allow us to design creative lesson as long as we follow the content and the learning standard stated in the DSKP. Okay, I think it's enough of the theoretical parts. So let's go to the practical parts. I just can't wait to showcase my 42 best practices in lesson design that I did with my students. I think before we proceed, just my simple tips. When we want to design a creative lesson or a simple activity that can spark creativity in our students, I think it doesn't have to be the whole thing. I mean, the whole lesson, right? It can only be the pre-task, the main task, and also the post-task. And as everyone is aware that we also need to teach our students for exam as well. So I think this is the challenge that we are juggling with. So I think that's all for my first part. Okay, over to you, Kak Rosie.
Okay, thank you very much, Fika. Wow, that's quite a lengthy response for a start. We are eager to know more about the PDPR projects you assign your students, Fika. Okay,
Okay,
why
yeah.
don't you proceed with your sharing?
Okay, all right. Thank you, Kak Rosie. Okay, let's move on to the practical parts. Okay, let's start with my PDPR project first. So here are some example as stated on the screen. I have 4 projects that I would like to share today. All right, the first one, okay, this one, I hope, okay, even though we can't travel overseas now, since this pandemic, right? But thanks to technology and this COVID-19 pandemic, so we did manage to go to Australia, even though only through screen last year. So this is actually our school partner in bridge program that we have back in 2015, and until now I'm still in contact with the teacher there, Miss Devi. So we did have a 1-hour session with the students from Armidale Secondary College, Australia, and with my 3 Tegas students via Google Meet. So I hope you and your students are watching us in this webinar. All right, this project was actually appeared in International Bridge Program Twitter account, as you can see on the screen on the right side. And I'm so happy that they really acknowledge our sharing session that we did last year. Okay, so these are some of the pictures from Australia, the left side, and also the Google Meet session. So we did change many interesting things and info about the school, the teenager stuff, and we were very surprised actually that one of the students in Miss Debbie's class can actually speak Malay, and we did have fun interacting with each other, trying to learn each other culture. So I hope I can have more session with them in the future. So I think since SBP as school as advocate international program, you can try this activity with your students too. So don't forget to keep in touch with those teachers around the world. All right, next project. I also did invite other English teacher from other school to teach my class during PDPR last year. Okay, this is what we call as team teaching, right? So we did have teacher Amira from SMK Pasir Gudang, the top 3 Adiwira winner in 2019, and one of the Malaysian edufluencers. I did learn a lot from her, especially in terms of how she did use many applications in one lesson. So in her lesson, as you can see on the screen, she did use Twitter, Instagram, the online Star newspaper, ISL Collective website, Quizlet, and also Padlet. So these are some of the pictures that we managed to screenshot, and the topic that we discussed during the lesson was related to COVID-19. And I think my students, I do believe that my students really enjoy being in Teachers Amira's class. All right, so next thing is this is a project that I'm currently working on. So I'm planning to have immersion class with students from Seda, Sekolah Dato' Abdul Razak, one of SGE schools as well. So since both of us are single sex schools, so I think it would be very interesting, right, to have boys and they also have girls in our virtual class. Right, okay. Last but not least, this is actually not a PDPR project, but I just want to share with you. So since it was carried out in 2019, I did run iPad to You program where we invited one nearby school, SMK St. Joseph, to join my English class. So I did train my Form 1 students at that time, to be the facilitators for their friends from St. Joseph. So my student did share some basic knowledge about how to use iPad apps like GarageBand, iMovie, Canva, Pages, and Keynote. So we did receive positive feedback from the boys and also the teachers who came. And I'm so happy that we know to share what we know, especially about iPad with daily school students. So I think that's all about my mini scale project that I carry out in my English lesson. So I hope you can get some ideas on how you can plan a mini scale project with your students. So over to you, Kak Rosie.
Okay, wow, that is that what you call as mini projects? I can see that you involve students with students from abroad. Okay, thank you very much, Fiqa. Okay, I think that I agree that the educators have to keep up with the technology so that the students will fall in love with the lesson. Only then they will pay attention to the subject we teach. Do you agree with that, Fiqa?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Other than that, I can find from your sharing session involving them with the student from abroad, they will be more confident using the language with the native speakers. Hi, Debbie. We are happy that you are here with us today. Thank you very much.
Wow, Debbie is watching us
Yes,
from
she is.
Australia.
Yes, from Australia. Okay, and
Thank you for your support.
yes, okay. About the collaborative teaching with teacher Amira. Okay, I like it very much because we are not perfect, right? So we can learn different method, not only us, the teachers, but our students. Okay, they can learn different method and experience from other teachers. I'm sure that it can also create different mood to the learners. Not only that, okay, from your sharing session just now, the students are instilled with other soft skills in the iPad to You program. Okay, for example, they learn how to organize an event, they invite their peers, and also play essential role as facilitators. That's great, Fika. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, comments, or views, feel free to write it down in the chat box. We will entertain your questions at the end of the sharing session, inshallah. Okay, let's move forward. Fika, being a
All right.
teacher, we should adhere to the syllabus, but at the same time, we want to be creative. Can you share with us how to design a creative lesson based on the textbook or syllabus?
All right. Okay. Thank you, Kak Rosie. Okay. So next, I would like to share about how do I create a creative lesson based on the chapters in the textbook. So since I teach Form 1 and Form 3 classes, so I do refer to Past 2 and Close Up textbook. And I have carried out some project-based learning with my students during PDPR this year and also last year. Okay, all right. So these are some, I would like to share 10 ideas on how you can design textbook-based lesson in your classroom. Okay, the first one, in chapter 2 in Close Up textbook, the topic is about food. And I think this topic is so interesting, right? And so relatable to us. Who doesn't love food, right? So I carry out this one lesson entitled Cook Like a Master Chef, where I asked my students to do a cooking demo during our Google Meet session. So in these sessions, the students learn how to explain the cooking procedure, and also they also need to use useful vocabulary related to the topic food. It was so fun actually to see them cooking at their homes, and I hope their mom didn't get angry if the kitchens were messy. So see, these are some of the pictures of the food that they have made during the lesson. They're so yummy, right? Okay, all right. So to add on these, last 2 years, which was in 2019, we also did carry out a sandwich factory project with my Form 2 students. So we asked them to prepare and decorate their sandwich in group and prepare a digital poster to promote their sandwiches. So we also call teachers and some school staff to be the judge for that mini competition. All right, okay, next, since we managed to have face-to-face interaction in last April this year, so I also did carry out this activity with my Form 3 students. So since we were still in the middle of chapter 2, which is about food, so I asked them to imagine themselves to be the restaurant owner. So they have to think of the concept of the restaurant and what type of food they want to sell. They also need to create a digital poster to market their restaurant. So they have to promote to the guests, and the restaurant which has the highest number of guests so will win the challenge. So as you can see on the screen, so these are the my students are trying to promote their restaurant. Okay, next. So in the middle there is, as you can see, this super tak mahal restaurant as presented received the highest number of guests, since they have a very funny restaurant promoter who did influence the guests to go to their restaurant. All right, so these are some of the posters produced by my students, and most of them use Canva application for the poster editing. So enough of food, so let's move on to the next activity. All right, so in chapter 1, the topic is about family ties. So I asked my students to create animation video about their family. So they have to draw and animate their family pictures using Keynote apps and tell their family story. So this is one of the example that I have with me. So let's watch.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I am going to introduce you to my family. In my family, there are only my mother, my father, my older brother, and me. My brother will be taking SPM this year. I love my brother, but most of the time I kinda angry at him because he is the kind of person who is really quiet and always get angry when someone talks to him. But I still love him because whenever our mother get mad at us or scolded me, sometimes my brother will defended me. For my mother, she is a very kind person, but when she gets angry, it is really scary. It's like when she's angry, her aura will spread all over the house. But I understand why she always get angry, because she is a very busy woman. She has to handle a lot of things at her workplace and always comes home late. For my father, he is a very nice person and kind. He always try to make the best for our family. And that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, so I think I have to agree with her, right? Me, myself, as a working mom, sometimes we have so many stuff to do as we are juggling with between the commitment that we have at work. As well, we need to also manage our households and kids at home. So yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I
Okay.
am going to
Sorry for the
introduce
technical problem. Okay, all right, next. So this is a drawing by my talented student Adelina from Tri Tegas. Okay, all right. So we move on to the next idea, which is Flipgrid. Okay, all right. So next, I also use a Flipgrid platform to gather all the animation videos that my students have produced just now. So I really like this platform as students can freely upload their videos here using their MOE account, and they can also watch and write comments on their friends' videos. So I think, in my opinion, Flipgrid is the educational version of Instagram, I would say, where you can post video, hit the favorite button, and write comments in the comment chat box. All right. And then I think a teacher can also grade your students' video and give marks based on the rubric that you have set up in the platform. All right, so these are some of the videos produced by my students in Flipgrid. All right, next, these are the screenshot from chapter 4. The topic is spatial relationship in close-up textbook. So when you look at the question, instead of having the students to answer the questions on a piece of paper, so what I do was I asked my students to create a video response based on the question listed on in this idea focus section. So this is one of the sample videos that I have, and maybe we can watch a bit.
Yes, I often get jealous of other people because sometimes I feel like everyone but me always succeed in whatever they do and they always get what they wish for. But most of the time, I told myself that everyone has their own journey. I cannot be like them, but I can be the better version of me, and that is the most important.
All right, that's it. Yes, I really like her words, right? I cannot be like them, but I can be the better version of me. Okay, all right. So next in... Okay, all right. So next one, still under chapter 4, which is about spatial relationship topic. So I also use speaker wheel tool when conducting speaking lesson with my students during PDPR this year. So here is in this website, I uploaded pictures related to people who face conflicts in relationship that I want my students to respond to. So I spin the picture and they will speak about the picture in groups of 3 with the help of the scaffoldings and the some speaking prompts that I have provided them during the pre-task lesson. Okay, it's speaker wheel, okay? All right, so next one, I have creating comic strip from Canva. So I really love this activity as it promotes creativity and higher order thinking skills among our learners by using the comic strip from Canva. I think it's very easy actually. Students can search many comic strip templates in Canva website, and for this post-task activity, I asked them to create a comic strip related to the topic spatial relationship. So what do they have to do is they need to rewrite the default dialogue provided in the template, and they can even edit the illustration if they want to. So once finished, they need to save the comic strip in PDF format, and they have to send the assignment to our Google Classroom. So these are some of the examples of comic strip from my students. Okay, next in chapter 5, we have the topic of a place to call home. And then this was last year lesson actually, where we have a face-to-face interaction, right? So I asked my students to imagine themselves as a house developer. So they need to work in group to build a house prototype, and they also need to create a digital poster using their iPad to promote their places. So since we have 6 groups in total, so I assigned them with different types of houses like apartment, single-story house, double-story house, village house, and others. All right, so these are some of the digital marketing posters produced by my 3 Tegas students last year. So in this activity, students learn how to put attractive images, the price of the house, and also the details of the facilities provided by them if they were to be the house developer, right? Okay, all right, so all right, next move on to past 2 textbooks since I teach Form 1. So this is one example of project-based learning that I did with my Form 1 students, where they are required to write a review of an interesting place they visited recently. So this is taken from the textbook. So to add some fun and spices to the writing lesson, so I modify the lesson by incorporating speaking skill as well. So we carry out booth exhibition in the class where they have to promote the places they have chosen in group. Okay, the first one, first thing first, they need to build the prototype of the place they have visited. And secondly, they need to create a digital poster to promote the place. And then they need to, the most importantly, they need to prepare the review writing. Okay, so in this activity, we can actually advise or encourage our learners to have supplementary materials like videos or infographic poster for the booth exhibition in order to attract the guests to come to their booth. Alright, so these are the pictures of the booth exhibition carried out in my class. Alright, okay, next one. I also use digital board game to develop students' speaking proficiency. So I designed this board game using Keynote apps. Keynote is like the advanced version of PowerPoint in iPad. And I also use virtual dice apps during PDPR speaking lesson on Google Meet, since we cannot meet each other, right? So the question that I chose for this board game are somehow closely related to teenagers' lives, such as like your favorite scarf, TikTok or Twitter, family or friends, and something you don't like doing. So I think just a simple tip from me, if you cannot have a real-time meeting, right, with your students on Google Meet, I know there are so many challenges that we have to face, and we also receive many different sorts of responses from our students, right? So maybe we can ask our students to record their voice and send their recording to your Telegram or WhatsApp group, and you can provide encouraging feedback for them to improve. So I think that's it. I hope I have shared some ideas on how you can be creative at the same time we follow the textbook syllabus. So yeah, over to you, Kak Rosie. Okay, we are so sorry, we face technical problem right now. Okay, all right. So I think I would like to proceed to the next one. How do I incorporate current issues in our classroom, right? As an innovative teacher, how do I do that is by bringing the world to the classroom. So, okay, so by doing this, we can help the learners to speak up their minds about the issues happening around them. Okay, so this can definitely promote active engagement among our students that will enhance their higher order thinking skills as well as their research skills when they have to research for the information. So I have listed down 9 ideas on how you can incorporate current issues in your language lesson. Okay, first off, one of the best way I think is through video project. So these are some of the sample videos produced by my students. So I asked them to use a green screen application since they have iPad in their hands, right? When making the video. So the videos are basically about COVID-19 issues, Independence Day, and also Kim River tragedy that happened back in 2019. I hope you still remember about that tragedy. Okay, all right. So next one, I also use a social media platform like Instagram, since students love Instagram and Twitter, right? So whereby I ask my students to watch Bena's Bahrain video about the death of his father due to COVID-19. So this is actually a pre-task lesson in chapter 4, spatial relationship. In this activity, I ask my students to watch the video and share the videos in their Instagram story and express their feelings through the story caption. So this somehow can instill empathy in our learners by putting themselves in the COVID-19 shoes. All right, next one. Okay, this one. I think everyone is aware of these never-ending issues, right, between Palestine and Israel. Okay, Kak Rosie is back there. Okay, all right. So
Yeah,
during
sorry,
our...
there's a problem. Never mind, continue,
okay.
just continue.
Okay, all right. So during our very first PDPR lesson after Raya break, I asked my Form 3 students to gather 10 pictures related to the conflict, and then using Pages apps, as you can see on the screen, so they have to somehow describe the pictures in 20 to 30 words. So we test their writing skill here, and it means they have to provide one description per picture. So in this activity, you can actually encourage your learners to express their feelings and also their inner thoughts as well in the description that they are going to write. So for this activity, I use Pages apps. Just make a simple table and ask the students to submit the work in PDF format for easy marking. So this is another example from my students. All right, okay, this one. All right, for Form 1 students, so The assignment that I assigned them to do was a listening activity related to Palestine-Israel issue, whereby I asked my students to listen to this Instagram live by Viva Palestina, co-organized by the Dark Group founder, Vivi Yusuf. Okay, after listening to the sharing, so they need to write a comment in English in the comment box, expressing their opinions and feelings towards the issue discussed in the live. So they have to somehow screenshot the proof of the comment posted, and they need to submit to Google Classroom just to make sure that they have done the work. Okay, all right. So these are the screenshot of the comments written by my students. And I think as teachers, we have to be creative, and also we have to be alert if we have any problem. For example, like our students don't have Instagram account, so perhaps what you could do, you can ask your students to watch a YouTube video instead, related to the same issues as a replacement. So the next task would be, I asked them to design a Palestine miscellaneous item such as t-shirt, phone case, cupcake, keychain, so they can use any design app that they are comfortable with. So these are more examples from my students. So they are so creative, right? As you can see on the screen. So I'm actually very surprised to see this artwork produced by my Form 1 students this year, even though they just entered SCF in April this year. Okay, next one. I thought of using Twitter for my language lesson. The hashtag and the trending function as our learning and teaching tool. So what we could do, perhaps we can ask our students to screenshot the trending hashtag in a week. Okay, so and we can also ask for their views about the chosen hashtag in a form of written and spoken feedback. So here we can test their writing skills and also speaking skill. Okay, next one. I would like to suggest that using infographic in your language lesson or in other subjects as well. Okay, so current issues can also be incorporated in teaching grammar in context. So we can use infographic as the tool to practice the grammar structure. So you can see the grammar structure there on the slide. So we can ask the learners to create an infographic related to COVID-19 issues by using the grammar structure. So this is one of the examples that my students had produced. So more examples. So normally they design this poster using Canva application. If I can read here, the title of the infographic are "How do I take care of my mental health during MCO?" and "How do I learn to cook during quarantine?" All right, so next one, I totally believe that adding personalization element, right, in our lesson can make the learning more effective and meaningful to our learners. If, for example, under the topic money in chapter 6, Pulse 2 textbook, so we just assume that we are going to run a car boot sale event at our school, and then I ask my students to create a marketing poster to sell all the unused items from their houses during our PDPR last year. So these are some of the sample posted and by, okay, I'm so sorry. So these are some of the sample posters, and I think by doing this, we can also instill entrepreneurship in our learners. Okay, next one, I have, okay, all right. So next one, I have creating a business card. So this is actually a post-reading task where they have to create a business card for their cupcake business. So I think it's so colorful, and it really shows girls' color, right? Pink and orange. Okay, all right. So the last activity related to money topic would be assuming that they are in charge of giving session for their big family reunion, for example. So using their research skill, so they need to search for suitable gift they want to buy for each family member via any online shopping websites such as Shopee, Lazada, or Fashion Valley, or others, with a purchase limit of 1,500. So what do they have to do is they have to screenshot the pictures of the gift that they want to give to their family, and also compile the details in Pages apps and submit their work to Google Classroom. So I think, there are so many ideas actually you can try with your students by bringing the current issues into your classroom. So we hope by creating and design creative lessons, so we can produce more open-minded and critical students for the benefits of the future. So I think that's it. So I pass to you, Kak Rosie.
Okay, thank you, Fika. Okay, allow me to recap your sharing just now about how we can adhere to the syllabus, but at the same time, we want to be creative. You have carried out so many creative activities with your students. I believe the students were eager when they were assigned to prepare a simple meal and show it with their friends in real time. So this proves that online lesson should not be a reason for us not to be creative. I'm sure the students enjoyed the lesson and the family enjoyed the food their daughters prepared. I really like the Super Tak Mahal group. Do you still remember, audience, about the Super Tak Mahal group? They are so
Yeah.
creative. I could see that there are many applications used by the students. Okay, the students use Flipgrid to upload video. It's an educational version of Instagram. Okay, the pickle wheel, a fun and I would say creative way to encourage students in speaking. Canva, okay, to create a comic strip based on the theme assigned, and they can just use the template and write the dialogues. There are also simulations for them to get ready in the real life. For example, when you assign them, okay, to promote the food in their restaurants, and also as a real estate agents and promote it to their potential customers or friends. That's so great, Fika. And I would like also to give my views about your how you involve or use newspapers, right? Sorry, not newspapers, about the current issues to your classroom. Okay.
Yeah.
From your sharing session just now, you encourage the students to get to know the current issues by assigning them the green screen, video project using green screen.
Yeah.
They knew about Kim Kim River, which is a hit in Johor in
Yeah. In
2019.
Pasir,
Yeah,
from Pasir Gudang. In Pasir
yes,
Gudang.
yes, it's very near. Okay, and the use of social media by uploading IG story related to the current issues. Okay, students can express empathy through their response about the events happening around them. For example, the Palestine-Israel conflict. This is very important. Okay, and you have included cross-curricular element in the lesson. Okay, very good, Fika. The
All right.
students has entrepreneurship skills. They are also taught of making financial decisions in English lesson. Can you imagine that? So, ladies and gentlemen, we may use what the students like and incorporate them in our teaching. Add personalization in our lesson plan, okay, and that way we will attract the learners. We don't need to cover our full lesson with the creative activity. Just we can choose pre-activity, main task, or the post-activity, just like what Fika has mentioned just now. Okay, Fika, do you know our viewers are from all over Malaysia?
Yeah, I'm reading the chat box actually right now. Yeah,
Okay. So
Assalamualaikum
we
Teacher Syahida. We
actually,
have Nur Husna, Anna Shirin. Yeah, hello,
yes.
hi to you.
Okay, we have audience from Sarawak, we have from Dungun, Terengganu, okay, and all over Malaysia. I would say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining our webinar today. Okay, next question, Fika.
All right.
It's about Padlet.
Okay.
Padlet is one of the popular and friendly apps for the teachers. It is also available in the Dilemma platform. Could you please share some ideas on how we can use Padlet in our lesson, Fika?
All right. Okay. Thank you, Kak Rosie. So yes, that's true. Padlet is a platform that teachers can exploit to any level of learners. So I believe that Padlet is very powerful for teachers to teach the 4 skills in English. So I'm going to show you 8 ideas on how you can use Padlet in your language lessons. So first off, As for the writing task, you can ask your learners to share about their COVID or Raya experience and share their Raya photos in Padlet. So this in a way I think can serve as a platform for meaningful collection of pandemic stories. So they can read each other's stories and write comments and hit the favorite button of their friends' post. Alright, next, you can also use Padlet actually for your pre-reading task lesson. So as for this one, under chapter 1, family ties in close-up textbook. So before they answer the reading comprehension question that I asked them to do, so they have to gather information related to family issues around the world. So they need to attach the link of the reading materials, and also they have to somehow write a short reflection of the family issues posted in the Padlet. So I think this shows that Padlet is an inclusive and efficient way of collecting ideas. Alright, okay, for this one, Malaysian Australia project. So I also use Padlet as a medium of communication between my students and our friends from Australia. So we did exchange our personal profiles with our friends there, and this somehow I think can promote intercultural communication among our students. So these are some of the personal profile written by my students with the pictures there. Okay, next, I also use Padlet as a brainstorming or online discussion platform, especially during PDPR, right? Since we cannot meet each other. So before they begin writing the My Surprise Birthday Party essay, I ask them to brainstorm the ideas for each main points in Padlet. So I think what I like about Padlet is that it allows synchronous collaboration where students can write their responses in written form. They can attach images, GIF, and videos while doing the brainstorming activity. So I think if you can have a real-time session with your students, right? So they can actually read what their friends post on the Padlet, which can somehow help them to write the essay better. So these are another screenshot of the brainstorming activity carried out via Padlet. Okay, next one. Right, so Padlet also is a perfect tool for virtual presentation. So I use Padlet as a medium to showcase the students' work. So in chapter 3 in Past 2 textbook, which is about wild weather, so I asked the student to watch any YouTube videos related to natural disaster. So what do they have to do is they have to summarize the YouTube video content and in a form of a poster. So they need to upload the poster that they have created, perhaps using Canva, with a link on Padlet. So this can somehow promote a visually appealing presentation when they present information to their friends. So these are more examples from my students. So they can, if you can see that, they can attach the poster that they have made together with the links that they have read. I mean the link of the YouTube video that they have watched. Alright, so I would like to share, this is another example from Cikgu Khalida. I think she's on the live as well right now. So a science teacher from Rawang, where her students use Padlet to showcase their experiment about transport in plant carried out at home. So I think Padlet is a very powerful tool to help the learners to maximize their learning experience during online lesson, even though we only stay at home. So we can call this as a virtual gallery walk, right? All right, next one. I also use Padlet for listening activity. So here I attach 13 TED Talk videos. I think most teachers are aware of this, know about TED Talk, right? So I asked them to choose 5 videos out of 13 videos they would like to respond to, and they have to express their opinions in the comment section. So this is another screenshot of the responses that I got from one student. All right, next idea would be students can also write movie review via Padlet. So in chapter 1 in close-up textbook, this is the work from my Form 3 students. So I asked the student to watch Instant Family Movie. You should watch that. It's very funny movie, but it carries many strong message related to family. So what do they have to do is they have to respond to 8 questions related to the movie. So I find this very meaningful as students can learn from each other answer in the virtual learning environment. So these are some of the questions related to instant family movie. All right, last one. This is actually our English panel project last year, whereby we asked our students to share their STF Ramadan moments during our very first MCO in 2020. So yes, as a summary, I believe that Padlet is one of the simplest and easiest resources that honestly amazed me at allowing learners to collaborate, share information. So I think good luck in using Padlet in your online lessons. So pass to you, Kak Rosie. Okay, all right. I think we are so sorry for the technical problem. Okay, I think I would just continue the presentation. Okay, next one. Okay, Kak Rosie is here.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Okay. Wow. Actually, when I was in backstage, I was really amazed. Okay, I'm really amazed. Okay, I can summarize that Padlet apps can cover the 4 skills in teaching English to the students. It covers speaking, listening, reading, and writing. We can use it to brainstorm ideas. Okay, other students can respond and add to the idea. The special features of Padlet is not only written form, they can also attach images as a creative way to use for listening skills. I can also see that we can carry out virtual presentation or gallery walk virtually. Okay, you have inserted TED Talk in Padlet and the students express their views by giving comments in the Padlet. That is so amazing. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write it down in the chat box. I have another question for you, Fika.
Okay.
Since the students in STF has subscribed the Star, News Straits Times, and also Berita Harian, what is your recommendation in using newspaper to engaging students in the classroom activities?
All right. Okay. Thank you, Kak Rosie. So actually, we are waiting for the slide, but it's okay. All right. I believe that newspaper are a handy resource, especially for language teachers. So we can create surprisingly engaging activities for our learners in order to enhance their language proficiency. So in the newspaper itself, teachers can use the newspaper article, the headlines, the images, the advertisement, or even the comic section in order to add some spices and fun learning in your language lesson. So here are 6 tricks on how you can use newspaper in your language classroom. So first one, okay, this one, newspaper board game. So the students create a speaking board game by using images that they cut from newspapers. So in groups of 3, as you can see there, they cut 20 pictures and paste the pictures on the board game provided. So after they finish creating the board game in groups, so I carry out a speaking lesson where they play the board game that they have created using the handmade dice. So I can see a very active engagement among learners where they share their views and about the images that they have cut on the board. Okay, so these are some of the pictures of the activity carried out in my Form 1 class. So I think if you are non-language teachers, I believe that you can also use a board game technique to add some fun to your lesson. All right, next one, guessing the headline. So, okay, for this activity, I asked the students to cut out a headline with its image from the article in the newspaper, as you can see on the screen. So what do they have to do is they have to paste only the image on, and they have to let their friends guess and write the best headline related to the image pasted. So we did exchange the paper to, for example, like 8 people for them to guess. So they have to write the guessing headline. And then lastly, the paper will be written to the headline's owner, and the paper owner can paste the real headline and see the comparison between the real headline and also the guessing headline. So I think it's quite funny to see like what other students, what their friends wrote on the paper, right? Okay, so these are more examples of the headline guessing game. All right, next one. Okay, so I believe that newspaper is also a very powerful tool to develop students' vocabulary and also reading skills. So for this activity, students blacken 10 words in the article and they have to let their friends to guess what are the words. So I personally like this activity as it promotes our higher order thinking skills, as students need to make connection between the vocabulary hidden that their friends have blackened, and also the content of the newspaper. So this is another example of blacken 10 words activity. All right, next one. Okay, sorry. Okay, so newspaper can also help learners to be creative in story writing. So by using, for example, 5 words and 5 pictures from newspaper, so we can ask our learners to create their own creative writing. So this can somehow develop their critical thinking skills as learners make connection between the images that they have cut and also the wordings from the newspaper. So these are some stories written by them. Okay, next one, highlight and respond. Okay, students need to highlight 3 main ideas in the newspaper article and they have to write a short response by expressing their opinion about the issues discussed in the article. So what do they have to do is they have to share the findings with their classmate, and then by doing this, I think we can somehow improve their speaking skill. At the same time, we can expand students' general knowledge when they read the newspaper article. Okay, next one. Okay, this is the last one for newspaper part. So we can also ask our learners to creatively create a poem for their mothers in conjunction with Mother's Day. So this can somehow promote creativity and critical thinking, especially when they try to use the words from the newspaper to create the poem, right? So I think there are so many ways on how teachers can make full use of newspaper in developing students' language proficiency. So I think that's all from me. So I pass to you, Kak Rosie.
Thank you, Fiqa. Wow, there are so many praises given by our audience to you. Okay, they are very, what should I say? Impressed
Supportive.
with your
Impressed
ideas.
and also supportive as well.
Yeah, they are very supportive. I believe you have given great ideas to our audience today in using newspapers with the students in the class. Okay, I'm attracted with the guess the headline and also blacken 10 words. I'm not sure of the audience today. Maybe you can also give us your thoughts by writing in the chat box. It looks simple to me and doable with my students. I'm sure the students will engage with the lesson as usually the students love challenging activities, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
oh yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, please don't underestimate your students' abilities. Okay, we are going to go to the last part, I believe, in our webinar today. It's about literature, Fika.
Okay,
Literature
yeah.
is part of our syllabus. It will be boring if we only stick to the literature textbook. Do you have any idea or recommendation to make the lesson lively?
Okay, all right. Thank you, Kak Rosie. So since we are running out of time, it's almost 1 hour now. So I'm going to only share 2 teaching ideas on how you can teach literature in a creative way. So for Form 1 syllabus, since they learn King Arthur novels, so we can ask them to create animation video of the story by using Flip-a-Clip apps. Okay. So for this task, I assign each individual with only 2 to 3 pages. So it's not too burdening for them to do that from the novels that they need to work on. So using any animation apps that they have in iPad, so like Paperclip or Keynote, so they can create animation video with close reference to the textbook. So this is one of the animation videos produced by my one Satya student last year. So I'm so impressed with the animation made by her. So let's watch.
Can I fight first? Gawain fights many different men. Nobody can beat him. Is Gawain the strongest knight in England? No, I am. Who are you? I can't see your face. Let's watch him fight. We can see his face later. Shall I fight in your name, Queen Guinevere? Yes. Good luck.
Right. I'm so impressed with the animation produced by her. All right. Okay. So I'd like to share the second idea. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So another idea would be we can also ask our learners to create a movie poster of King Arthur novel. So as you can see on the screen, so this can somehow develop their designing skills, especially in using the applications in iPad. So these are more examples from my Form 1 students. A movie poster of King Arthur. All right, okay. I think that's all for the sharing. Okay, last but not least, actually I have more things to share in this webinar, but due to time constraint, I have presented 42 ideas, which I hope can inspire all teachers out there to be more creative in lesson design. So just for your information, as you can see on the screen, actually, this is a project that I'm currently working on. I'm working on this iBook project, a compilation of creative lesson plans. So please do pray that I can complete this project and share the materials for the benefits of all teachers out there. So, and also feel free to follow my teaching account at Fiqa Teach English, as stated on the screens, as I keep experimenting with new methods and pedagogy in teaching English. So looking forward to make connection with all teachers out there. So I think that's all for my part. Pass to you, Kak Rosie.
Okay, thank you, Fika. Right, just by using Keynote, the students are able to create an animation video. It's interesting indeed, Fika. Right, we hope that the sharing session has given you, the audience, some ideas for you to adopt and adapt with your students and classroom, because we believe that each school has different cultures, background, and facilities. Okay, now it's time for us to look at the chat box. If there are any questions, give me some time.
Okay, I really like comment from I think Cikgu Ana. Okay, let me read.
Sure.
Cikgu Ana Shirin Razi. So she wrote here, if you don't have a paid Padlet, because we have to subscribe to Padlet if we want to have more than 3 posts, right? So what you can do is download the response in PDF format and recycle the same board for another activity. So this can be one of the alternative if we don't want to subscribe to the Padlet, right? And also, what else?
Okay, actually, that comment has answered, I believe, one question from our audience, Miss Nur Hayati Zakaria. How do you get unlimited Padlet board? She uses Padlet, but she always have to redesign because the limit is 3. That answered the question, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then another one from Cikgu Nurhayati. Thank you for the response. I usually screenshot my people's work before I started a new one. So at least you can save whatever that your students have produced, right? And it's not gone. It's not totally gone. And then so that I would like to have unlimited boards. Okay, thank you, Cikgu Nurhayati, for your sharing. Okay,
There's another question. There's
okay.
another question from Miss Galito. She asked, what is the app used to make the family ties animation?
Family ties. Oh, okay. For that video, actually, my student use Keynote apps. Keynote, which is available in iPad. So I think if like our school, the students use iPad, right? So we have to somehow master the skills of using iPad as well. But if your students don't use iPad at school, you can always go to any free courses for teachers on how you can maximize the use of iPad in your lesson. So I think we also have Apple Teacher Community Group where you can join in Telegram group. So there are so many Apple Teacher Advisor and also Apple Teacher Specialists we call ADE, Apple Distinguished Teacher as well. So they keep sharing some hacks and techniques on how to use iPad for your teaching.
Okay, Fika, there's another question.
Right.
We have one audience here. This Sipto Wiryawan Jaafar. Okay, salam teacher. Minta maaf sebab saya bukan bahasa Inggeris, mungkin guru bahasa Inggeris lah. Okay,
Okay.
I would like to ask about aktiviti yang dibuat ini mesti perlukan masa yang panjang kan? Bagaimana pengurusan masa dalam buat projek?
Okay, thank you for the question. Actually, this is one of the expected question because as I stated on the front slide, where one of the challenge is sometimes creative lesson do take time, right? So I think as teachers, as for my personal teaching, I do have this one timetable. So when, for example, if we are new to exam, so we cannot somehow carry out all these creative lesson, right? But if you are far away from exam schedule, so we can carry this out. And for your information, in our school, so we do have 2 hours lesson and 1.5 hour lesson for English period. So I think I would have to. I think 2 hour session is enough for the students to at least complete the task. And if they cannot finish the task within the time given, so I have to assign them as homework. They have to do, for example, like they have to complete the task during their prep time. And I do think that it really takes time. Sometimes we just have to wait for them to produce the output, right? So I think it's the matter of how you handle and manage your teaching timeline so that we can somehow conduct creative lesson at the same time we also prepare them for the exam. So I think hopefully I answer your question. Thank you for the question.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, there are some feedbacks, there are comments, there are questions, Alhamdulillah. So we are about to end our session today. But before that, Fika,
Yeah.
final question for you.
Okay.
Do you have any advice to the teachers who are still comfortable in using the conventional method rather than using the 21st century approach?
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Kak Rosie. So perhaps this is my last words for today. So I would like to end the session with this one quote. Education is a journey and not a destination. So in order for our students to grow, we need to change first, right? So don't worry, teachers, of making mistakes because we are far away from being a perfect teacher. But most importantly, we have to keep learning and learning. So I do acknowledge that especially right now in this pandemic phase, many teachers out there are trying their best for their PDPR lesson despite the responses that they receive from their students, right? So I would like to humbly motivate everyone to keep trying. Who knows if we apply creative teaching in our lesson, we can somehow attract our students to join our class in this pandemic. All right, I think that's all from me.
Thank you, Fika, for the motivational and encouraging words. Okay, I agree that life is a journey. Okay, so does education, right? So we as teachers, we have to challenge ourselves. Okay, to be creative. Don't worry of making mistakes. We are still learning as well, teachers. Right, thank you everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe and push the notification button for Fika's channels. Fika Teach English. Yeah. Okay, stay safe everyone. See you again. Assalamualaikum.
All right, bye.